This lesson, we're going to be expanding logarithms. We're going to be going from it all combined to it separated. So like if I had log base 3 of 15, that's the same thing as me saying log base 3 of 5 times 3, which is log base 3 of 5 plus log base 3 of 3. And then you can use that property of these threes matching, and you'll end up going down to that 1. So it ends up being log base 3 of 5 plus 1, and that property is right here. And so today we're going to actually see a little bit more of using these properties down here than we did yesterday. Let me go through a few examples, and all we're doing, like I said, is doing the opposite direction from the properties. So yesterday we were condensing, which was going back towards the left, and today we're expanding, which is going towards the right. So let's look at this and let's identify all the different properties that we're actually using here. And so what operations do we have? We have multiplication, and so that means that we're going to end up with something with addition. We have division, which means we're going to have some subtraction. And there's multiple ways to actually show the steps on these. Some of these will be combined into steps as you get where you're more comfortable with it. But for me, first step I need to do is separate the two big pieces. So I have this multiplication and the division. That's my two big groups. So I have log base 10 of 4x, and we said that that division was subtraction sign, log base 10 of y. Now, I have another thing I need to separate. I need to separate out the multiplication. And so that becomes log base 10 of 4 plus log base 10 of x minus log base 10 of y. And when it's a single item, you technically do not need parentheses, but when you have multiple things in that item, where it's multiplication or anything else, it is strongly encouraged. Now, I'm going to look back and see, do I have the base match the number, like in this one, or do I have a 1 in either of these spots? And that's no for both of those things. And so I can go on to my next thing. And that is my final answer. So on this one, 729 is not prime. So I need to figure out, what is 729? Well, 729 is made up of 3. But I want to check and see, since I have the base 9, I'm curious, can I do 9 to a power and end up with 729? So 9 to the first is 9. 9 to the second is 81. 9 cubed is 729. And so since we have 9 cubed is equal to 729, I'm going to use that for this denominator. The reason I went with 9 again was because that base was 9. I could have done a similar idea with a 3, but I would have not caught that was 9 to a power. And so if you see that it's possible for this number, that's your base, to be that number raised to a power, always use it. Now, I'm going to go ahead and let's look at what we can do when we look at what rules we have to apply. So we have, let me go ahead and rewrite this. X to the 4th over 9 to the 3rd. So the first thing I need to separate is the division. And so when we separate the division, it's going to become subtraction. And so when we separate that division, we end up with log base 9 of x to the 4th minus log base 9 of 9 cubed. So we have two different rules we get to apply this time. We're going to apply the exponent coming forward, like on this law. And then the other one we get to apply is we have a base with a number raised to that same power. And so we're going to use both of those. So the 4 is going to come forward, gives us 4 log base 9 of x minus, these cancel, the log base 9 of 9 cancels, leaving us just that power. So that's your answer. Now we have to think about these numbers. We have to figure out what makes them up, and especially if there's a 3 to a power. So let's look at the 250. What makes up 250? Well, 25 times 10. And that's 5 times 5 times 5 times 2. So I end up with 5 cubed times 2 is what makes up 250. So I'm going to go ahead and rewrite that. And 37 is prime, so I'm just going to write 37. So we don't have base 3 on either of those exponents. So that means that I am just going to be looking at some basic rules. We have the multiplication rule that we're going to end up with addition. We have the power, which is going to come forward. And then we have the division, which is going to become subtraction. So we're going to start off with the division. Log base 3 of 5 cubed times 2 minus log base 3 of 37. So now I'm going to separate that addition, or that multiplication with addition. So log base 3 of 5 cubed plus log base 3 of 2 minus log base 3 of 37. And so we end up with moving this to the front. We end up with 3 times log base 3 of 5 plus log base 3 of 2 minus log base 3 of 37. And that's your final answer. We're going to do one more like that, and then we'll go ahead and let you work one. So we have to think about that 42, the same as we thought of the other one. So 42 is made up of 6 times 7, which is made up of 2 times 3 times 7. And so we have log base 3 of 5 times the square root of 2 times 3 times 7, which is the same thing as log base 3 of 5 times the square root of 2 times the square root of 3 times the square root of 7. So we now need to take and write these as exponential. And so we have log base 3 of 5 times 2 to the 1/2 power times 3 to the 1/2 power times 7 to the 1/2 power. And y'all could skip some of these steps. If you don't feel like you need these steps, go ahead and skip them. Now we have just basically two properties that we are working with at this point. we have the power property, and we have the multiplication property, and so I'm going to separate them with the addition. And some people will go ahead and move your powers at the same time. So if you feel comfortable with that, you can. So we have log base 3 of 5 plus log base 3 of 2 to the 1/2 plus log base 3 of 3 to the 1/2 plus log base 3 of 7 to the 1/2. And so again, we have this one where there's match, and so that's going to cancel out completely, just leaving us that 1/2. On these others, we can move the power to the front. And so we end up with log base 3 of 5 plus 1/2 log base 3 of 2 plus that 1/2 plus 1/2 log base 3 of 7. But that's not the best way to write it. The best way to write those is where you actually move that 2 down to the denominator. So this 2 just moved down to the denominator underneath. And then we have that 1/2. And the same thing's going to happen over here. We're going to move that 2 down to the denominator. And we have log base 3 of 7. That's just the preferred way of writing logarithms whenever you have a fraction. And so that's that final answer. Again, a lot of these steps, I was showing you every step of the process. Most people will not need every single one of these steps. Oops, I went the wrong way. I want you to do number 5 on your own. And again, I'm just going to go ahead and pull out your rules so that you have those as we're looking at this. You should have ended up with 2 times log base 10 of A plus 12 times log base 10 of B.